Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Pierre. Eric is a certified public accountant with a long-established career in tax and finance industry. His knowledge of and expertise in those areas is only eclipsed by his passion for people. Eric loves nothing more than to help both individuals and businesses not only save money on taxes, but also achieve their most ambitious business goals. Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, Pierre.
Thank you for having me, Ed. I appreciate it.
Well, first question, Eric, why do you do what you do?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, I realized in high school I was not good enough to go to the MBA out of high school. So I had a father that was a CPA. He told me one day, he said, not getting letters from Duke, not getting letters from Carolina, UCLA, no calls from David Stern. So I did a research paper on accounting. He never pushed me towards that. I saw why he did it. And so I chose accounting, and that's where I'm at now.
Outstanding. And before we started talking, talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges that the accounting profession faces with regard to diversity and inclusion, especially with regard to Black Americans. And we chatted and decided how it's not as simple as all that, because one of the main challenges is that there aren't as many people, African Americans and Blacks, who are graduating with accounting degrees. So it almost has to start back there.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if we're going to increase it, it's going to be the responsibility of Black CPAs, such as, myself and others. I recently joined the National Society of Black CPAs, and we have some programs in place now to increase that number, because, I think there's about 600 to 650,000 CPAs, of which 5,000 are Black CPAs, and we think the number is actually less. We've been waiting on the AICPA, who's been promising, with the diversity fund, all that good stuff, they're well intended, but they've issued a check that's bounced several times. So now it's our responsibility to start reaching out at the junior high school level, by creating a fund to get, Black professionals to take review courses, doing boot camps. Because, I think regardless of your race, everybody needs to see people that look like them. And when there's so few, it's hard to see. It's hard for people who want to do some if they can't find some of that they can't relate with. And as a Black American, most of the successful Black Americans you see on TV are usually in sports and entertainment. It's rare that our media will promote a successful Black businessman. Maybe someone like Robert Frederick Smith. But if you think of Jay-Z, Sean Combs, they were entertainers first before they became businessmen. So Robert Smith, Damon John, that's only like 2 or 3. There's not a lot of, examples for them or stars, to look up to. So that's also a problem. I was very fortunate that, I have a strong Black father, and I'm a second generation Black CPA, but I'm like 1 in a million with something like that.
You had a really interesting analogy, too, before we started talking about how the NBA changed from its focus on the teams to focus on individual athletes, and how you think that might be something that the profession should also look at as a potential model.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, if you look at social media and how we communicate, there's a lot more emphasis on ourselves. I mean, today we give out our, social media. I have a Twitter page, I have a Facebook, of an Instagram, our firm has an Instagram, and there's more emphasis on self, particularly, these smartphones. And, our industry, while I understand the importance of firm, we need to start highlighting, the talented individuals, of different ethnicities and also different genders, like what the NBA did in the 80s, that increased its fan base. Because, overall, the numbers for accounting majors in colleges have gone down significantly. And if something's not fixed in 10 years, there's a problem, and I understand, there's definitely more regulations, but our industry we have so much to offer clients, but we don't really market that. All most people know about CPA is they do taxes, they do some financial statements, but they don't know about, some of the complex deals that you can help create, three, four, $500,000 cash flow, for a middle class family. People don't know things like that.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is it's not only a dearth in diversity, as you said, of gender and race, but also we want to encourage diversity of thought, especially in the accounting profession, because otherwise you get stuck in this rut of thinking the same way about the same problem, and we really need some new thinking in the accounting profession overall.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because our industry is run by predominantly older white men, and they're stuck in their ways. They've made their money. So what incentive do they have to change? Most people in their 50s and 60s or even early 70s are like, my dad he turned 70. If I wanted for me to get him to change his mind now at this point in life, it's not happening. He's an older black guy. People, the ways of a man are set and only God can change them, but it's easier to change, and open up people's eyes when they're younger, more impressionable than when they've built a successful career and they said, well, that sounds nice, but I've done it this way and I'm 5 years from retirement, so I don't get to listen to you.
So let me ask you this. If you're giving some advice to perhaps somebody who's entering a college or maybe even considering an accounting degree, what is it that you would tell them as a young person, regardless of really race, why they should get into the accounting profession?
They should get into accounting because accounting is the language of business. If you can understand accounting, you'll understand every aspect of your business from start to finish, not just manufacturing, but, your cost, your revenues, cash flow, things that matter, particularly when those young people that want to be entrepreneurs and want to end up building and selling businesses. The most successful entrepreneurs have a good fundamental understanding. They may not be accountants, but I think every business major should make accounting a minor. And if you look at what happened recently with the PPP, a lot of small businesses didn't get it. And while that was unfortunate, part of the problem was 30% of applications were rejected, according to a client of mine works at Chase, because they had bad accounting and tax records. And the media doesn't talk about that. So they cry about small businesses, not getting help, but you can't get help if you're not keeping good records, because that makes you highly risked and highly toxic.
Sure. Well, Eric, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
Wow, I have a lot of heroes. Wow. I'm going to say, since I'm reading this book right now, Dr. Martin Luther King, I'm reading this book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? And he's my hero because, he emulated, the teachings of Jesus Christ, and he allowed for everybody to come together to solve these problems and not just be focused on, Black power, white power. He believed that everybody can come together and everybody can contribute something to solve the problem. And I would like to be like him. And I also love how he spoke with such authority and so forcefully. So that's why he's my hero.
Outstanding. And lastly, Eric, how can somebody contact you?
Well, I can be found on Twitter at YourFaveCPA. You can also look up our website, www.pierreaccounting.com. And you can also call our office at 619-800-6852.
All right, Eric, Pierre, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Advice podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
For more Sage Advice, visit and subscribe at sageadvicepodcast.com.